Hello everyone, and welcome to the Waterfall Labyrinth, and also back to Sylvan. In the last part, we continued on in Flora, finding and completing the Jungle Labyrinth in the process, and now we're behind the waterfall, because there's always something behind one of these. And this is a labyrinth we actually cannot complete yet.
Heard the hourglass? Supposed to be in the western desert.
No, I have not.
Being so small can be a pain. You're too light to trigger switches and stuff.
These are mice, by the way. You can only talk to them as a mouse. Who would have thought?
If you want to get anywhere, you need to get the hourglass.
Essentially, later on, there are these panels and switches that we can only get past if we have said hourglass. So I just went in there to show that off. And as they said, it's in the western desert, and how else do we get there? By heading west from the town of Flora. This is the other pair of spiked rocks, by the way, that I mentioned. There's actually along this pathway a branching path. You want to head west to get to the desert, but I've actually never checked what's to the north for some reason. Usually my explorer sense would kick in, but maybe it's just because I always knew the desert was to the west. Anyway, the desert can be kind of hazardous because there are some enemies that turn into tornadoes and also some sand pits, and obviously I think both damage you. Now, our goal is that little pyramid that right to the north of me. But I want to head to the southern half of the desert because not only is there some stuff for us to get here, there's also something optional. If you worm your way around this sand and get rid of the claw along the way, you'll find yourself with 4 pillars in a square like this. Remember that floating stone we got last part? Equip it to see its purpose. A hidden palace that's flickering so you might not even be able to see it. And in here we get the last form. The art of the bird. Now the scene may be his wings in the sky. This is the bird form. As its name would suggest, you get turned into a bird and you can mash the, I think it's the 2 button, to fly. This is an entirely optional form. It makes me think they actually had plans for it, like maybe another dungeon or 2, but they just ended up not being able to put it in. When you're flying, you're immune to basically everything. You cannot get hurt because everything is below you. There's also an orange on this screen. And the bird technically makes the next thing I'm about to do entirely pointless. But I'll get more into that when it's more prevalent. Right now we want to head back towards that pyramid we just saw on the last screen. Screw you, quicksand, I can fly. Welcome to the Desert Labyrinth. It's technically a pyramid, but I prefer to call it the pyramid. Actually, no, it's technically the Desert Labyrinth. I just prefer to call it pyramid because it's what it is on the outside, damn it. And welcome to one of the only other places in the game you use the spin dig. The basic gimmick with the Desert Labyrinth... Did I just say basic? I think I did. Either way, the basic gimmick with this area is there's a sand fall that's on the top of every screen. You only use that to go back up floors. Our main goal is on the bottom floor. So you need to find whatever way you can to fall through the floors and just get to the bottom. Though I am going north here just to get this. I think it's a double cherry? No, it's a single cherry. Eh, well, my health wasn't full. And honestly, this is an idea for a dungeon I like, but it feels like it could have had a bit more added to it. Because there's not even a boss fight here, which is kind of strange to me. By the way, I love this song in this place. Mind you, the entire soundtrack I think is actually really good, especially for Game Gear. In fact, if I recall, I did some research when I was recording the gameplay. But this game's soundtrack was composed by Saori Kobayashi. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I probably am not. And she's actually done some games I've played. Some on the channel, some just my personal time. Like, she did the Inspector Gadget game on the Super Nintendo, Sonic Triple Trouble, and Drift 2. Some sound effects for Nights into Dreams. But probably some of her bigger claims to fame, at least in my experience, are the fact that she did Panzer Dragoon Saga and Orta, along with Shadowgate 64. And I think she also did one of the Monkey Ball games. She hasn't done too much, but she's done pretty well, because those are some pretty great soundtracks right there. Especially the Panzer Dragoon games. Either way, you can head to the east in this floor here, but I want to head to the pure north first in order to grab an orange. I want to say this is one of the, 3 dungeons in the game that actually has an orange, but honestly, I'm having trouble remembering. This is one of those games very similar to, well, which was it? I think Oracle of Ages with me, where I know where I'm going and what to get when I'm playing it, but if I'm not, I can barely remember anything. Also, you need to fall down some sand pits every now and then, but honestly, it's pretty easy to be able to tell that. And we can head west, but we want to head east first in order to grab our main goal, the hourglass. So now we have that, we can actually head all the way back to the Waterfall Labyrinth. But first we need to traverse this floor. I forget if I cut out of here after going up the first sandfall, but it's fairly simple. Whenever you see one of the sandfalls, just walk into it and it'll drag you up a floor. Though if you're on the top floor, it'll actually knock you into a ceiling. I like it when games put that little detail in. Ooh, free apple. Thankfully, this is a game that you have to actually wait for the item to do a couple of bounces before you can collect it. So I was actually able to save that apple. Okay, yeah, I cut back here. I obviously need the lamp for this area for it to see, by the way, until, like, now. I could head west first, and that leads towards progress, obviously. But you might notice there's two slightly different looking portions of the wall here. We can dig the one on the right to open up a mouse tunnel in order for us to get an item. It's a fairly useless item, if I recall. It's a double cherry, but it's there nonetheless. I do believe I get every treasure chest in the game, even the ones that include the double cherries, but I may leave one or two behind just because it's way out of the way. Anyway, see that switch there in the hourglass panel? This is what you need the hourglass for. You can be, I believe, any form, unless you want to press the switch, in which case you need to be something that's not the mouse. And then it freezes the little sand falls. That is what makes the hourglass optional if you have the bird. If you have the bird like I do, you can just fly over all of the little sand falls that you need the hourglass to get past otherwise. In fact, I imagine if you somehow had the bird before going to Anne's Labyrinth, it would make that place pathetically easy. Time doesn't stop for long. It's 5 seconds, and even then it counts down a bit faster than actual seconds do. So you do need to be fast about it, which is why I recommend using the mouse for sections like that. But overall, it's nothing too bad. Oh god, crab. Ah. I don't like crabs. Mind you, they'd poison me if I ate them, so that's probably a good reason for me to hate them. Oh god, the jellyfish run away. At this point, the dungeon starts getting a bit weird, because first off, there's this rock here. Nothing, as far as I can recall, hints at the game that you can do this, but you can actually push this rock. However, it's a bit of a one-way trip. After you stop pushing it, it will start slowly. It's supposed to be rolling, but it just starts slowly moving downwards, as you can see now. By the way, you can walk through these rocks to get, I believe, a double cherry. Yep. So now, because I went past that rock, it's gone all the way back down there, and I can no longer go back that direction. Although I'm not actually sure if you can pull it. I never tested that. And it seems like it wouldn't be something you'd be able to push, because you'd be pushing it technically, no, pulling it uphill. And pulling uphill is a lot harder than pushing. Although I do believe you can head to the southeast and jump down a ledge or something. And we're actually pretty close to the end of the dungeon, but we need to do a bit of back and forth, because that right there is the word we need to put the crest, but we don't know where it is yet. So we need to come over here and flip this switch, which will activate something in the near future. Admittedly, I don't like the fact that there's a bit of a hidden passageway there, but it's fairly well marked, all things considered, so it shouldn't be that hard to find. Now, if the wall there matched with the rest of the wall, that would be a legitimate complaint that it was pretty much impossible to see otherwise. Here's a mole section, so let's burrow this place out. And now I have to go into the mouse. Admittedly, that actually is one kind of issue I have with the game. But I'll get into that in a second. By pressing that first switch, that makes that switch be able to be hit. I think it was surrounded by rocks or something, allowing us to hit it and get the crest. Now we need to head back to where we saw the crest plate earlier. Just head on back towards the crest plate, place it in, and save, because we're coming up on the boss. And this boss can be kind of tricky. It's pretty simple in concept, but its damage output can be kind of up there. And the boss for this labyrinth, is this thing. The way this boss works is that it has multiple weapons that come out of its right arm socket. First, a dagger that stabs forward, followed by a wrecking ball that makes it act very similar to one of the chain ball knights from Zelda, swinging it around in a circle, then eventually throwing it at you. An easy strategy for a quick kill with this, I believe, is just to mash the 100 slice while trying to avoid the wrecking ball. But I go the safer strategy, which is to use this turtle super dash. Though I do actually would recommend trying to fire it off from the sides instead of front on, because front on, you're way more likely to get hit. In fact, if I recall, this is the only time in the game I end up using the grapes, just because the damage output for this boss, when you get hit from using the super dash, is a bit high. But at least you get to see the grapes in action. Get KO'd with them on, recovers your health entirely. Though they are a one-time use item. If you want more, then you have to go back to the girl and Verta. This boss, as I said, pretty simple in concept, but this ball and chain form can actually be really annoying. Ow. Yeah, see, you can just do that. It's a lot easier, honestly, to just do that strategy. Third phase is when I believe he starts firing a laser of a sort, but I never give him the chance to do it because honestly the third phase is pathetically easy. But for beating him, we get the green droplet. Now the mouse can use the magnet power. That attack's a bit hard to explain. It's not even an attack, actually. It's more of a mobility option. But before I do so, I actually want to head back to the Mouse Elder. Because now that I believe you have to have beaten the labyrinth to do that, but now he'll give us something. Aha, the lab powder. Just let me add a secret bit of my formula, and voila. And we get the purifying powder. With this, we can clean up poisoned water. You might be wondering, why the hell do I need to do that? The next labyrinth is in an area that has poisoned water. Either way, this is the magnet power. See these balls? If you hold the button long enough, you'll get attracted towards them. That's all it really does. In a few dungeons from now, there will be eventually balls that we can pull towards us instead of being pulled towards them. But honestly, it's a pretty underwhelming power that only gets used a total of like twice overall in the game. Either way, yeah, we're back at Anne's Labyrinth, by the way, or at least we were. Because not only was there an orange across that pit, but there's also this little side path. And I want to head over here because the closest thing that this game has to a secret is in this area. Also, I hate this enemy type. It only appears like 4 times if even in the game, but each time it's pretty annoying. Because it's basically the chain-swinging knight from Zelda again. Which I've never been a fan of that enemy type, honestly. The main entire idea with this side area is that you might not think to come back to Verta after getting the mouse magnet, so they can hide this from us. This is Pandora's box. And opening Pandora's box reduces your damage by half, your damage taken by half. However, you'll notice, unlike most of the treasure chests, this one stays here. That's because you have a choice to come back here and put it back if you ever want to, if you want to just have normal damage again. And one of the bigger examples of this game having possibly things cut from the game is with Pandora's box. Because I believe someone using like a hitbox shower or something for speedrunning's sake found that there was actually a loading zone at the top of the room of Pandora's box. And if you're paying attention back in Verta the town, there was what looked to be an impression of a door in one of the stone walls in that area. The big theory surrounding that, and I agree with the person who said this, is that you would be able to have quick access to Pandora's box as to turn off and on the double damage, the double defense whenever you want. There we go, that's the phrase. But I don't know why you would ever want to turn off the double defense, because it's awesome. Either way, this is the poisoned lake. This is actually why you need the purifying powder. I just went a bit out of sequence because I know I needed it. If you try to jump into the water right now, though, you'll start taking damage, so get the purifying powder out first and get close to it. And with that, we purified the water. So now we can actually swim around in the swamp. Or it's not even a swamp anymore, is it? And you want to do that because the now into the next labyrinth over here, but there's also an orange. By the way, I love the little item get theme. It's short and cat, but it's really catchy. I do wish more areas had unique themes in the game, because at the top of my head, I believe there's only a theme for each individual Sylvan, like Verta, Flora, so on and so forth. Either way, welcome to the Swamp Labyrinth, which is the easiest labyrinth in the game to navigate through. There's only 4 rooms, and they're set up like a square. However, finding the exit is the hard part. From what I've heard, you can use the compass to figure out that it's actually hidden just past this wall. And we're at the boss already. This is my least favorite boss in the game. I don't even know if he has a name. I just call him the Green Wizard. That reminds me oddly of one of Vati's forms from Minish Cap. Starting off, he likes to teleport all over the place, shooting 3 little waves at you, in which case you can attack him afterwards. Then he starts doing this. Now he'll teleport and make 2 clones of himself. The real one is the one that has the eye on the chest. Every 3 or so teleports, or maybe it's 4, he'll throw another 4 waves at you, going in a clockwise or counterclockwise fashion. In concept, it's an easy boss. Executing it's something else, though, because the teleport time frame is actually pretty short for this guy. I believe they maybe want you to use maybe the mouse form or maybe to just be constantly dashing. But with how overly precise this game's controls, well, not precise, responsive this game's controls can be, it's very easy for me when I'm dashing to accidentally run directly into an enemy or boss. Mind you, that's just me. You might be having, yeah, if you're playing along, you're probably having a completely different experience, but still, that's the way I play it. I just like being safe. It's not a very hard boss in execution, but yeah, it's still my least favorite. It tends to drag on a bit longer than most of them, that's for certain. If anything, though, I get damaged more often than not by accidentally either hitting the wrong clone or by just running into the guy face first. The 4-wave attack isn't even that hard to dodge. I believe if you stay in one of the sides, you're almost entirely guaranteed not to get hit. And he's down. And for beating him, we already get our next droplet. The blue droplet. Now the merman can dive deep underwater. How we couldn't do that before, I don't know. But with that, I'm going to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 5, now that we have that diving ability, we're going to take a quick look back at the lake flora before heading on to the next area. See you guys then.